Hey, what's up, guys? So, I've been out of commission for a little while and I wanted to talk about it and I wanted to shed a little light on my experience and to give you guys some things to think about. Some reality check type stuff that I face that you guys should think about if you're planning on coming to the Philippines and trying to decide where in the Philippines you should live. So, if you follow my channel, you know that I've been living in the Dumaguete area. I'm just outside of Dumaguete on the beach here. And I've lived in Cebu City, and I've kind of lived all over the place in the Philippines. A lot of it just traveling around. And there's pros and cons to everywhere, right? Big city, BGC Manila, you get modern, you get infrastructure, and you get access to some of the best, well, the best healthcare in the Philippines. Would have to say would be a place like St. Luke's and BGC. And then you kind of make your way down from there. Cebu City, the second biggest city, access to bigger, better hospitals. And then again, you kind of go down from there as the cities get smaller and you get more rural and you get to more provincial towns. And Dumaguete is kind of considered a small provincial city, right? Very different than a modern area like Manila, what Manila has to offer. So your access to healthcare here is very different. And if you go to an even more remote area or outside of Dumaguete, further away, like a lot of people do live, you just have to know that it continues to drop off. So if you're looking at a place like Manila or Cebu, and I'll just throw in like Iloilo and Davao City as well. Not as big, but from what I understand, the healthcare options are pretty decent there. But when I think when you get to a provincial city like Dumaguete and several other areas in the Philippines, I think the drop off is pretty significant. So my experience, guys, I've talked about it on my channel. It's been a brutal week for sure. I have had back issues for many, many years. And I've had flare-ups come and go over the years. As you continue to age and as you continue to have wear and tear, the flare-ups are worse. And this last one was pretty bad. It was pretty scary for sure, eye-opening. Yeah, I was in bed, basically woke up in the middle of the night, went to bed with really bad stiff back, and then I woke up with major, major pain. I tried to do a little stretching, to try to loosen it up. It actually made it way worse. And then the spasms started kicking in. And so it was basically trying to move an inch, created a insane back spasm that basically like controlled my whole body, like locked up, contorted, excruciating pain by just moving an inch, trying to roll over in bed. Like I couldn't roll, I couldn't do anything. I was literally stuck in bed with these severe back spasms and back pain. And it was pretty freaky. I thought maybe I had done some damage, right? Like when I stretched and did some stuff and then it got way worse, I thought maybe I slipped the disc. I'm laying there in pain thinking, okay, maybe I just need time. And so I let a couple hours go by and it just was getting worse and worse. I ended up calling my buddy and my buddy was like, I'm coming over. And I'm going to get to some things, guys, that are important for you to think about. But he comes over. I can't get up to let him in. I finally get a hold of someone that has an extra key to this place to open the door. They come in and realize how bad off I am. And like he's trying to help me and I'm doing those contorted spasms and the pain, you can't even fake it when that happens. And so we're trying to like problem solve what to do. Like, what the heck? I can't move. I can't get out of bed. Do I stay here and just get help or do I go in? Maybe there's something really bad. So we ended up deciding to like get an ambulance and just like get into the hospital. And the thinking was get an MRI and get maybe something to control the pain and the spasticity. And so, yeah, this is where things started to really hit me of like the reality of where I live and some of the limitations. So just to keep it real, right? Like calling for an ambulance was not something that is just an easy 911. It was him calling people to find someone that knew a number to an ambulance, just like a regular Philippines number. And an ambulance was coming or was going to come, and then they didn't know how to get here, and it was like impossible for them to come. And that was another realization, like, what the hell, they're not understanding where I live, and he's giving them directions and a Google Map thing. So he ended up having to drive out to find the ambulance and then bring them back. So that's like the first kind of scary thing. And then it was just like a real simple type of setup ambulance, a very simple stretcher, not what we're probably used to. And then in a kind of a rinkety ambulance, driving on the bumpy road to get out there. So that's the next thing I'm thinking about, just like location. It's different if you're in BGC and it's just everything's right there and it's just paved and roads and addresses and stuff like that. But a lot of the places you live here in the provincial areas, it's just like dirt road, to a random neighborhood, and there's no addresses. It's all landmarks, and it's a little bit chaotic that way, right? So we're making our way over the bumps. Every bump is like freaking hurting. There's not much cushion on the stretcher bed thing that I was on. Quick splicing, guys. I decided to cut out the part where I just said the name of the hospital that I went to. I was advised not to mention the name if you're going to say anything negative at all, even though I'm not about to just fully rip on the hospital, but I'm about to share my subjective experience. If you're really interested, there's only a few hospitals here in Dumageddon. I think there's 3. You can email me and I'll tell you. I'm not going to put it out on the YouTube video. All right, I'll carry on with the video. This is very different than what I'm sure most of you are used to, as far as the level of care, the level of accessibility, the equipment that they have. So, the thought of getting an MRI, I thought, well, that would be a no-brainer. But what they were suggesting was admitting me for 4 days and waiting until Tuesday to do an MRI. And then they said the MRI machine was old machine that could take up to 6 hours in the machine to get the MRI. And I'm thinking, what the heck? I've done these before, and they're 20, 30 minutes, right, for something like that. So old equipment, got prescribed, basically was prescribed and recommended to take these 2 meds. And I'm doing a quick search to see what that's all about. And everything that I was searching was saying, do not take those 2 together. And I'm trying to communicate that with them, and they were saying, no, this is good, blah, blah, blah. And I couldn't find anything that said that was good. In fact, numerous sources were saying, do not take those together. And they were going to set me up with IV and pumping stuff in and do blood work and do all these different tests for a few days, waiting for the MRI. None of it sounded sensible. None of it made sense. And in the end, I ended up coming back here after a few hours, got one of those meds, and I hired someone to be able to do whatever I needed, right? Like a full caregiver until the back pain settled down. In the moment, I didn't know if it was really bad or if it was just going to settle down. And thankfully, in the end, after a couple of days and the meds and the time and the rest, the back spasms, chilled out. I do have to kind of figure out a plan and eventually get an MRI, but I was not going to stay there for 4 days to wait for an MRI. And the level of it just, listen, this is a tough thing to talk about because I only have my little bit of experience and I have my subjective opinion of how it went, but it just felt a little, it felt provincial, limited, some aspects of incompetency, in the evaluation and some of the questioning and some of the planning without really knowing what was going. It kind of scared me. I'm thinking, I don't want to be a part of this. None of it felt good to me, to be honest. Everyone, for the most part, is just nice and all of that. But this was a reality check for me of some of the limitations from where you live, accessibility to get you to the hospital options to, this is a huge thing. Having support, having someone, if you don't have a support system, if you don't have the ability to get a hold of someone, that person you're with or people you're with play a huge part in the whole thing. From where you are to the time you're in the hospital to needing to have things paid for before they do anything. I'm sure you've heard stuff like this. And I do want to give a shout out right now. It's a perfect time because I use them and a lot of expats do too. But if you're going to get insurance, if you're a health insurance person, if you think that's going to be good for you, which I think is not a bad idea for catastrophic, not for your daily, just small things, doctor visits, but for bigger things if something happened and you do need to get admitted and you need bigger treatments or whatever, to have an insurance plan is one thing. But the main thing is navigating the whole thing, right? Having the support system to navigate it, to make sure everything gets paid, everything gets taken care of, especially if you don't have someone with you. And so the insurance that I use, that many people use, it's service-backed insurance. Anyone can get insurance, but if you don't have the agency and the team to take care of you in those situations, you're kind of screwed. So link in the description for that. Look into it. They have a huge Facebook group too, where there's tons of people that are with them that talk about it. You can even look into that and ask questions, but it's worth looking into and getting a quote if you're looking to live here and you want to get insurance. But yeah, so in a nutshell, guys, support system, friends, thinking through, are you vulnerable? Are you in a situation where you might need some sort of healthcare, whether it be a condition you have or whatever. Do you need to live in a place like BGC and be very close to and have the quick access to a place like St. Luke's? This is the tricky thing. Not everyone like me, like I don't want to live in Manila and BGC. I love where I live, but it comes with its drawbacks, guys. Like that's part of the deal of coming to the Philippines. And that's part of your strategy and planning of where you live is how much do you want to give up healthcare to have adventure, to have nature, to have these kind of things. And I'm not saying there's not any good healthcare here in Dumaguete. Everyone's experience is different. I've heard a mixed bag of things. I've heard nightmare stuff, and I've seen some sketchy stuff with a friend that broke his leg and what he went through, and it was terrifying. Getting splinted with a cardboard box cut up and some rope. I'm not even joking. But in other cases, people talk more positively about their experience with their healthcare stuff that they dealt with here in this area and in other areas, right? This is something for you to look into. This is something for you to really take serious when you're trying to decide where to live, knowing the limitations, knowing yourself, whether it be having a condition that you really should be near a good hospital and give up some of your adventure. Like a friend, I've referenced him before, Bob, who was living in Siquijor, and he was like, you know what, eventually this isn't really smart for me to be here. He had a scare, and then he ended up moving to BGC. It's not his first choice, but he ended up loving it there, right? So someone that's maybe older and might have some conditions, well, then it really makes sense to do that and sacrifice some of the adventure for healthcare and being close to some of the better hospitals. But then there's plenty of guys that just fall into the category where they still have their health and they want to live that life of adventure. But if something were to come up that it could be more complicated than what you're used to, more sketchy than what you're used to, limited access to modern equipment, limited access to certain expertise and levels of care that you might need or want. There is a bit of a roll the dice element to it, but I don't think I'm saying anything that people don't at least have in the back of their mind. For me, guys, and I think for a lot of you that can probably relate to maybe my situation, it's about lifestyle choices, right? It's about how can you optimize your life, your routine to keep yourself feeling, safe and healthy. And so to reiterate, I think one of the biggest points to make with all of this, in addition to like location and what makes the most sense for you, thinking about healthcare and getting yourself set up with health insurance, all of that, it's that network thing is huge, man. Like I realized if I didn't have people to call on to help out, to be here when basically to answer right away, to be here right away, and then also to be able to set up, caregivers here in the Philippines. That's kind of a unique situation. This is one of the pros, right, of being here, is that labor is cheap and hiring people, whether it be maintenance to prevent just wear and tear on your body and just hire people to do a lot of these things for you, thinking about your modes of transportation, thinking about the activities that you get involved with, hiring a caregiver when you need it, which I was able to do just through the network, having that set up before going too long, right? Like having friends, if it's a medical team, like you could go as far as you want, right? What I'm thinking about doing is hiring like individual, like health coaches, a yoga instructor that I can hire privately, a physical trainer that I can hire privately. Man, you could network and connect with physical therapists. You could network and connect with, there's lots of different modalities, right? So as much as I'm saying it's a provincial city here in Dumaguete, they have quite a bit. I know there's a chiropractor in Darwin, and I think also having people on dial, like it wouldn't suck to have a couple of nurses, a couple of physical therapists, a doctor that you actually get to know and that you have on your phone, their contacts, where if you run into a situation and you have it in your budget where you can call upon people to help you out in these situations. You almost have to do that. You have to compensate for some of the lack of things that they have here, the lack of services, the lack of structure and organization for all of these things to come together. Bit of a wake-up call for me to kind of sort through this and figure out what's going to make the most sense for me. I don't want to overthink it right now, but there are some things that are coming into my head that might need to be sorted through and some changes that might need to be made in order for me to just be in the right situation, in the right place, in the right all of it. So it's early stage of that, but I got to sort it out. This was a scary thing, guys. This was like a holy shit. It was pretty messed up when you cannot get out of bed and you cannot even roll over. you're all of a sudden completely dependent and stuck. It's wild. It's a wild thing to experience. Anyways, I'll end it at that, guys. Hopefully this sheds a little bit of light just to get you guys thinking, get you guys planning. I don't want to scare you away from living in a place like Dumaguete in Valencia. Not at all. This is not meant to be that, but it is different than major cities. There is a drop off, and I think you need to take extra steps. I'm repeating myself, but if you do want to live in an area like this, I think it's important to take extra steps to maintain your health, to avoid things that could put you in a bad situation, but then also have the network and the people and knowing what hospital and knowing what doctors. Just get yourself oriented to a point where if anything were to happen, you're situated, you're set, and you know what you're dealing with, and you know the risks and rewards of each location. And as I mentioned, if insurance is your thing, I definitely recommend looking into it. You can check that link out and see what's up with that, and you might want to get yourself set up so you have that backup plan so you're not screwed, because things can add up here pretty quick when it comes to emergency stuff. And it's not even always about that. It's about having the people, the service, the agency that will help you navigate everything if you do end up in a situation like that and you're in the hospital. All right, we'll leave it at that, guys. More videos to come. Take care.